All right, so let's take a little stroll back in time here through my process.
I'm working on a commission, so I can't post this until after it's done. It's a surprise, so it's very exciting. And it is a painting of a family on a trip to Venice, and I've just kind of starting to get the feeling of it. And this is the photograph that I'm working from.
So, yeah, this is time lapse. So what you're watching right now, just during this time that I started talking here, is like probably 2 hours of work. um, and I think actually there's a clock in the background if you want to actually see. But yeah, so it doesn't feel like it takes a long time because I love painting. So I just keep going and going and going, and then at some point I realize I'm hungry or something happens where I just need to stop because I need to take care of the kiddos or have some other obligation. But painting is like my natural state, and time just totally disappears. All right, so I moved my studio operation up to the pond room because my ceilings are a little too low for my easel in the basement because there's a 7-foot ceiling. But the pond room has one side that's higher than the other, and that works if I put it on the tall side. So I moved on up, and this is the pond, and it makes this amazing, nice, peaceful sound. But in the background, whenever I do recordings in this room, it just ends up sounding like I'm recording from a bathroom with running water. Actually, the plumber that was working on our house when we first moved in kept on going, "What's going on?" He was thinking that like he must have accidentally left something running. He's like, "I thought I turned the water off," and then he went in and saw the pond, and he was like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?" He liked our pond very much, but it did throw him off. I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm actually painting in acrylic, and I always painted in oil my whole painting life, which started when I was about 11, so like 1985. 1985. Anyway, but then in about 2014, when I had my daughter, I changed to acrylic painting, and it took a long time to be able to paint in a way that I found satisfying with acrylic. But I do like it more now than oil for the sake of cleanup and practicality because I don't have a lot of time. I'm sure I'll go back to oil one day. But I am going to let you in on how it looks when I'm looking at my source photo on my phone through a screen recording. So here you go. So I had left this part of the boat out of the painting, but I might put that back in. Just kind of play with the proportion of everything so that I can fit that. And also then that might give me the opportunity to make this figure feel more like the same size. Like in her head, this person's head looks smaller than this person's head, and her head she's further back. So it just feels like it's just a strange distortion. And I don't want it to look distorted. I want it to look like naturalistic. So I kind of have to go back and translate into what it would actually feel like if I was there looking at this. And then there's all these great details up here. And the trick is to remember it's a painting, right? And then to get a character across, to make it beautiful with the minimal information, an economy. Oh, look at that. I wonder if that's a condensate pipe. What do you call it? Condensate from air conditioner. We have that going on in our backyard. We have it spilling into into a little area that we made into like a wet garden. It's pretty cool. We get toads and stuff. Anyway, sorry, non sequitur. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff. And then in the print back here, there were these like blobs that looked really cool. They're not at all in this photo. Or maybe here they are. They read very differently here. But it's a hard thing to translate. It's like almost like you have to go back in time and think, okay, if I was there, if I was actually in Venice with them, if I was the gondolier, what would I be seeing? But you can only do that to some degree because you're not there. So I like to actually take a close look and zoom in and then kind of imagine the whole feeling of the experience. So anyway, I'm going to get back to painting, and I'm going to stop the screen recording because I'm not going to be able to paint and do this. So earlier, when I had the painting downstairs, I had it up on cinder blocks to raise it instead of using the easel mechanism. And I honestly cannot remember why I did that. I don't know if it was what I like to call absence of mind when I do things that make no sense, or if it actually was for some reason. But in any case, it definitely, this type of easel, you need to have a certain height ceiling to work with it, if you're working on a larger piece. But yeah, the cinder block thing, I don't know what I was doing. I think I will chalk it up to absence of mind. But anyway.
Let me see what I can do in 5 minutes here. Let's see. It's such an unflattering shirt, but I didn't want to wear something I got screens on. So usually I don't care, but I'm running out of clothes, but I don't care about having things on. Man, I think I just have to work tomorrow. I feel really sick. My kids are sick. The dog is sick. My husband was sick last week. And yeah, got headache, sore throat. I don't have a fever, but my kids both have fevers. But I'm eating like nonstop. I think I gained like 5 pounds in like 2 days. I can't stop eating. Actually, now I've lost my appetite. Probably because I'm full. Alright. Yeah. Eat and paint. Yeah, no. I'm not gonna go between myself painting right now. I'm just gonna go take a shower and go to bed and call it a day.
So I was still pretty sick at this point in the process. So I was painting in my pajamas, and to be honest, I paint in my pajamas a lot. I do a lot of things in my pajamas. Post-COVID, that's one of the best things about COVID, was that it normalized the wearing of pajamas. Yep. In the future, we'll all wear pajamas forever. I like that society has become less formal. So I paint and repaint heads, paint and repaint a lot of things. The background, I kind of felt like I nailed it pretty quickly, so I ended up not touching it because it worked out pretty well, I think. Um, but yeah, my brain was a bit fuzzy, and it definitely, there was a lot of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But it's good to keep going, and I definitely think work is like the best thing you can do. Just keep working. If are you in pain, work. Are you sad? Work. Are you sick? Work. And just find the work that is your work. And if you haven't found the work that's your work, find something you want to get good at and start doing it and keep doing it until you get good at it. Because it does not happen quickly. And ideally, look for something that you lose track of time while you're doing. To me, that's a good sign that you're into something. So the other rule I have about work is do what you can when you can. Because you're never going to have the perfect moment to do things. It's just not how it is. At least not that I've found. Especially as your life progresses, and the more things, if you start a family, or if you have pets, or just if you have a lot of friends, you want to be able to participate in life. Well, you might not have time to work when there's complete silence, or there's never going to be a perfect moment. Don't wait for the perfect moment. You just have to be able to do it. So that's where practice comes in for sure, because if you're practiced at something, it'll be easier for you to do. Plus, set it up in a place where it's easy for you to see it and remember to do it. So if you want to get into drawing and painting, if you don't have a big place, even just paper and pencil, you can do a lot of beautiful things with paper and pencil. But just keep things on hand that you can work with, so that you'll be able to keep practicing. Getting there, maybe, I think. So I usually don't work on painting at night anymore since I've had kids, because sleep has become a priority. And also, my husband and I tend to hang out in the evenings. But I really needed to get this done soon because I wanted my mother in law to have time to frame it if she wanted to frame it. I didn't know if she would, and plus also I just felt like, if, I knew it would make her happy to have it done and not have to be stressed about whether it would be done. And I also wanted to um, make some Christmas things to sell in my booth. I had a booth, which I'm ending now actually, because I got a job at a furniture store, doing in-home design for a local family-owned furniture place. So that's kind of cool. But it's nice because I get to be creative with my job. So, and also get to meet people. You can't just be in the studio all the time. It's good to meet people.
All right, so I basically painted back into the space and tried to reopen it basically. So I used a lot of white. I started to just repaint the area in general in reside basically, but then I just decided I need to kind of just get the whole thing to be less prominent overall so that I can look at it again and compare, so that I can see what's wrong with the proportions and things. So you probably can see the differences. And right off the bat, there's some things in the area. Right, let's see. So when you compare the area, the space between here and here, that proportion's not right. Just the overall expression of her gaze is completely wrong. But I'm just gonna try to figure out this right here. This, see, this is just, I made her look like Reese Witherspoon. That's not her. I've got a lot of work to do.
So this is one of the few parts where I'm actually showing you how fast I actually paint. And a lot of times it almost looks like I'm not painting, like there's nothing on my brush, because I'm sort of just moving little bits around, and that ends up looking, when I do it in time lapse, you can see it, but it just shows how much goes into it. But like I mentioned before, time passes completely differently for me when I'm working. So, but at this point here, I was frustrated with having to try to show the process while filming, and I do end up abandoning the documentation and just finishing the painting. But there's a little more documentation ahead here, if you're still with me. But yeah, here, this is one of the few parts where you're seeing it at its normal pace. It's not slowed down. It might look like it's slowed down, and you don't see anything happening right away. That's why it really does help to do the time lapse for painting videos, and it's not on every iPhone. So here I've actually sped it up. And it doesn't even read as that fast, but it's not time lapse. It's just like, I think, double speed here. But fast enough that you can actually see something happening. That helps. Yeah, so kind of just getting back into some basic drawing and figuring it out, just trying to figure out the proportion of her face to get it right. It took a very long time for me to get her face right. And part of it was also not having it just look like the photograph, but this is someone who I know. It's my niece. I love her. I know her. I know her personality. And there's something I wanted to get across from that. And right now it just looks like a crazy Halloween mask, the way that the face is. But that's what goes into painting. And eventually it ended up becoming, at least that's what goes into painting when I paint. I see these linear art process videos, and I don't know anyone who actually paints that way, but I find it strange. My process is not that linear. So you may be wondering how much you charge for a portrait. In this case, since it was for my mother-in-law, I was just charging her for the materials. And she wanted to pay me what I would really get paid, but the amount that she could afford to pay basically just covered materials. And I was happy to do it, I just wanted her to know, and it's a kind of a weird thing, like how much it would actually cost to do, just in terms of even if I paid myself like less than a minimum wage. but but it's kind of a weird thing because I didn't want her to feel bad in any way because I was glad to do it. And so, but I think it is important for people to know, partly also because if someone else wanted a painting, someone I didn't know, I wouldn't, if it's not someone who's like a family member, I wouldn't do it for just for the cost of materials, or for a neighbor, family member, friends, sure. Um, but ideally, people pay you what your time is worth, and even if you're just covering your materials and you're just trying to get started, it's worth it to do it. Um, I think it's worth it to take a portrait commission if you feel like it's something that's going to showcase your skill, even if you're not making what you feel you're worth. But what I think this portrait commission, what I would charge, would be about 3,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but it took me about a month, actually a month and a few weeks, basically working full time on it. So I mean, I think it's, that's actually kind of a bargain. Um, and it's a specialized skill that literally no one else can do. No one else can paint in the exact same way that I paint. Um, it's if you want to get a canvas print, go ahead. It's not going to be the same, but you're welcome to do that. But yeah, I mean, ideally, one day I'll get commission, be able to, people will pay me what I'm worth for my paintings, um, and I'll find some patrons, I hope. The thing is, there is a skill in which you can recreate something in paint with a grid system, and just create it in sort of a mechanical way, the way that they do murals, the way that they do things like that. But to paint from the heart is a whole other thing.
All right, so I had this person done and like almost too perfect, but her face was just a little bit not the right size, and it just didn't fit the rest of the painting because I wanted the rest of it to feel open and kind of not like super realistic. I wanted to have an impressionistic, painterly feel. So I had to reopen her and like basically destroy it to start over. And right now I'm struggling with it, but I'm gonna keep going because that's what you do.
Yeah, so, the difference between painting the way that I paint and using a grid and just like copying what you see visually is, I think, that you create something timeless and that you're having a conversation where your soul is involved. And if you just take a photograph and have it printed on canvas, then you have a perfect exact recreation of the photograph. Congratulations. And you will find that it's not the same thing at all. Um, and I don't knock anyone for preferring it that way, but there is, for the few people who understand and believe in it and can afford to buy paintings that are handmade from the heart, then hopefully there's a market. But I think a lot of times the people who really appreciate the soul in something might not have that much money. To be honest, I'm not trying to knock rich people, but I'd be willing to do a painting for someone who appreciated it a lot, but didn't have a lot of money, as long as I'm covering my materials, because it matters to me to be able to make work, and connections with people matter to me a lot too. So, and I think it's good to create goodwill whenever you can, because life is too short not to. There's my son. Having fun with time lapse. The pond room really is a beautiful place to paint. That orchid there was given to me by my realtor. I'm working on a portrait for her now. You may have seen the short of me starting that painting, but I'm doing that just out of kindness because I appreciate her very much. This is at double speed right here. There's a lot of coughing and a lot of talk. I think it was bedtime for my kiddos, and I was just trying to finish painting. Or maybe they'd already gone to bed and they came down and wanted a glass of water. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, nope. Maybe it's because it's winter. It's not bedtime yet, but yes. I don't know. I just wanted to get the damn painting done. So. But I've also found when you're like in the mindset where you're like, I need to get this done, I need to get this done, your painting isn't going to be as good. You need to be in a frame of mind where you're like, I am enjoying this. I really want to go after it. I just want to enjoy it and I want to go after the painting. And the idea of trying to finish something, it's just the finish line will run away from you when you're just trying to get something done fast. I mean, I do think that there's something to be said for, like, I'd like to come up with a technique where I could do things quickly, partly just through my own style, with an authentic style, which I think part of it for this, I was trying to get something of a painterly painting, like a marriage between what I knew that they would want in terms of a painting of them and my own style. So it's kind of like this hybrid thing. But the painting now that I'm doing for my realtor is more like the portraits I've done in the past for people, where it's a little bit more expressionistic. I don't know where it's going to go. We'll see. It might end up being more traditional, but but being able to just try to do it your own way might make it quicker too, with your own style. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I could paint it in 1 hour, that doesn't make it worth less. It's still a one-of-a-kind thing. So you kind of can't always think about the hourly rate because, I mean, there's paintings I've done that basically the math would have been maybe that I made $100 an hour on it. But, yeah, it's like, is it a beautiful painting? It's ultimately what matters is what someone's going to pay for it. You can't, anyway, it is what it is. But as I'm watching myself here, the head is way too big. You may have noticed. I do end up getting it right, but I'm going through a struggle here right then. Just, it's so much back and forth, so much back and forth. I wonder if any of you that are watching or painters have kind of a similar process, or if this is like Greek to you, or, I don't know. I'm just interested in, and then people who are watching this that aren't artists, what interests you about it? Life in general, there's a lot of cha-cha, going forward and back in general, because it's just like the process of life. But I also wonder sometimes if it's just like an ADHD thing, but the fact that I do it anyway, I don't know. I just keep going. I keep going and I don't give up. So, and I think people think it's trivial, and I've actually recently deleted some people from my life, that just in terms of time, not spending time with people who don't value anything that I value. It's not worth it. But I'm fairly grateful for my talent, and I try to do my best to make art that's going to last the test of time and make people happy right now, too. I mean, yeah. So I'm still in double speed here. This is the part where I made her look like the girl from Honora. I guess, I don't know if we watched the movie that recently at that point or what, but I guess also I was trying to finish it quickly because I felt like, well, if I could finish it quickly, then I could charge less and get more commissions. And but there is that expression, haste makes waste. And anyway, I think it's just staying in the zone, not worrying about how long it takes, and just go, go, go. Sometimes makes it actually take less time because you're not fighting against the energy of busyness, I guess, or shortcuts. You know, like if you're thinking in any way about a shortcut, sometimes it ends up being a long cut. I don't know. Yeah, so not that I was trying to take shortcuts, but I was so much going, yeah, I've got to get this done, I've got to get it done. I've got to nail it, just got to nail it, you know. But I guess it's kind of like how I ended up keeping the freshness about it, where it ends up feeling like I painted it all at once, because I kind of did restart each time, do it again, until I got it right. Some of it was me painting back into it, but a lot of it was each time to keep it fresh, I basically had to start over. So, yeah, and being able to, one of the things that is nice about acrylic is that it does dry quickly, but it is also difficult because you can't work right back into it. If it's oil stays wet, so you can keep moving it around, and it's actually much easier to paint portraits in oil in a sense because of that. I did definitely, I don't want to clog my drains and with when I wash my brushes and stuff, and it's just not, and the fumes are really bad and everything, so it's like I really miss oil painting, but I would have to have a very different circumstance. Like I probably would want to try to get a service to pick up my oil painting rags and things like that, and get like a proper bin for it. I mean, I've known people who've had studio fires because you're dealing with flammable solvents and stuff. Like, it just seems like not worth it. Like if I can just make acrylic feel like oil, that's I mean, it's hard, but it's worth the effort to not have to deal with the fumes and the danger and all that. So, but it is luscious and wonderful. It's kind of like the difference between butter. Well, I wouldn't say butter and margarine because I feel like it's still real paint, even if it's made of plastic. But maybe the difference between butter and olive oil. I love olive oil, but it's not butter. And I mean, sometimes I do want olive oil, but yeah. But then if every once in a while I'll have butter and I'm like, oh, butter, how I missed you. So anyway, I'm sure I'll go back to oil one day. And I don't know who watches my channel, to be honest. I love making these videos, and I am so grateful to anyone who's watched it or watches it, because it's like, if I could make a living just doing YouTube videos of painting, that would be really great. And if you like seeing them, then watching my videos and telling people about it is a way that doesn't cost you anything, that you can support the arts. So yeah, this face still has such a long way to go, because I'm making this voiceover after the fact, and as I'm watching it, I'm like reliving it, and I'm like, wow, yeah. But yeah, if you want to pay attention to how you talk, watching yourself and listening to yourself on YouTube is very enlightening. I repeat myself quite a bit, I suppose. So here I am. There's Lillian. Here I am doing it again. There she is. Now she's all red. See, every time, starting over. But even with oil, I did that too, though. But then you have to wait for it to dry in between. Like if you really want to start over, you don't want to be able to move the paint around. So for the way that I paint, acrylic actually seems kind of like the right thing for me to use. I had professors suggest it before, that I work in acrylic and then just go in with oil at the end. And I've thought about doing that too. I might. There, I made her look more like a little girl, which kind of helped open up the feeling that I wanted, because she has a certain quality, her personality, like a girlish quality that even when she grows up, she'll probably have. It's just a sweetness about her. So even though right now the painting doesn't look like it's done or doesn't look great, I had tapped into something there. The scale of the photo I printed now is a little closer to the scale of the painting, so I'm hoping I'll be able to nail it now, because my brain is just half working because I'm sick, and but I'm not going to let that stop me, because who knows, I'm going to feel better. Look at that, got black paint on my nose. Is that a nice touch? Does it look good on me? Are you guys gonna start wearing nose liner because it's some trendsetter? No. So yeah, still going. So much more, and I've seen people do these videos where they will turn the canvas around and say, "This took me so much, whatever, 4,000 hours," and they just show you the finished painting, and I don't know if they're telling the truth about how many hours they spent on it, but I feel like it's good to share your process. It's kind of, I know I like seeing other people's process, and it's nice to be honest. So, yeah. And it's also good for me to see it, to be able to take stock in how long it takes because I guess so I can kind of figure out pricing, but just to get this kind of objectivity, you always have to stand back from your paintings. It's good to have objectivity about your work, about your life. Like, I feel like YouTubing, forget about whether it's painting or not, just kind of documenting your own experience can be really illuminating. Just like, even, this is going to sound weird, like, kind of to fall in love with your life. The things that I feel like we're going to miss the most are like the quiet moments that you might forget. So, anyway, at this point in the process, I am drawing a quick general sketch to kind of like find my way back. And because I just kept repainting that face over and over again. So, getting a little distance from it, figuring it out compositionally, and just like another way of stepping back, drawing it, figuring it out, and then getting back into it. And if you find this boring, guess what? That even serves a purpose, because you can watch it to fall asleep and know that you're going to just have this soothing, chill thing in the background. So, because my TV shouldn't take you away from life. When you watch my channel, I want you to want to go out and live life. Or take a nap. Whatever you feel like. So, but what I'm doing here is like, anyone who didn't go to art school might see this kind of drawing and think it's bad drawing. But it's kind of like compositional drawing. So like when I was in high school and I first started drawing, I would do these pencil drawings and, like the super detailed drawing that starts with the eye. Well, one thing that you learn in art school is to look at the whole of the painting and to look at the composition. So that's what makes the difference between an okay painting and a great painting. A great painting is always going to have an element of polish with a great composition. So, even the word polish, I'm not sure about that, but it has to have a great composition. Even like the scribbles of Cy Twombly, overall, they work as a whole. It's impactful. And there are a lot of people who kind of like can make something that has a really polished surface and get really engrossed with the details. But those people probably would do well to look at an artist like Cezanne, because Cezanne, his art is extremely unpolished, but he's seeing the whole of the composition, and his art is just about composition. Anyway, so that's a big influence for me. And actually, there's an artist who, I don't know if he makes art anymore. One of my, an ex-boyfriend of mine, his name was Andy Moore. He had taken classes at this studio in Allentown called Barnstone. And this guy, I don't remember what his first name was. Let's call him Alan. Marvin, something with 2 syllables. I think it might have been Marvin. or Martin, not Martin. Anyway, Mr. Barnstone had the studio, and he taught his students about composition a lot and color, and some of that trickled down to me through Andy, because I was like, for me, color and composition were kind of a mystery. I have personal tastes about color, but I kind of tended toward enjoying muddy color that looked like an old painting that had been under layers of varnish, and so I learned about color harmonies through what Andy told me that he learned at Barnstone, which was just this little independent art school, like I said, in Allentown. Anyway, so God rest his soul. I'm sure Mr. Barnstone is not still alive, but if he is, congratulations, because he's got to be like 100 and something. Anyway, back to the point. So the point was that your composition has to kind of sit all together. Everything relates to everything else in the composition, and it's almost like there's like an invisible web, and there's always going to be, you've got the rectangle and everything relates to that bigger rectangle, and then there's an invisible web that holds it all together in great paintings. And so paying attention to the angle of things and the way everything relates to everything else is something that helps. Okay, so worked into this a little bit with drawing. So I worked on a drawing earlier. I think I worked on kind of drawing the overall composition of the painting earlier, just to kind of figure out what's not working, why doesn't this feel right, what am I not understanding. And and one of the things that came across very quickly was something that I forgot to do, which is just like, you can just check the angle. Like when you're drawing from life, you can use your charcoal to check the angle of something. So like let's say you're looking at a figure, you go like this and you look at the, let's say I'm looking at somebody's arm, right? And then I could take the charcoal and put it against the overall line of how the arm is going, or along the edge of how the arm is going, and then bring it back to my picture plane and make sure that it's the same angle that I recorded. So like with the side of her hair, I had her hair kind of going like almost perpendicular, almost parallel to the outside of the edge of the canvas, but really it's practically a 45-degree angle here, because the thing that's confusing is there's this boat, and like this is actually the inside of the boat. It's hard to tell if that's her hair or the inside of the boat. Pretty sure it's the boat, but also her hair lines up with that, and either way, that's a mask that needs to be at this angle for that to work. So just kind of figuring out, and then also looking at the angle of her arm. So her arm, this is not a perfectly straight piece of charcoal, but it's close enough. And the overall angle of her arm goes like this. So, and look how easy it is to just translate that. Just give yourself a quick little notation. That's how the angle's supposed to be. Same deal here. So what's that angle supposed to be? Take it over here. And then it's like, okay, so you start to figure it out. So that's where I am. It's just like getting back to some basic things to figure out what's not working. Because I'm sick, so my head, like normally I might do these things without thinking about it at this point, but my brain is like half working from being sick. I like to think that wouldn't affect anything, but it does. So, but I'm not giving up, because I could be sick all winter, so I've got to paint. Anyway, even there's no reason not to use tools like that, just simple things that you can do to like check what you're doing. Like if there's something that's not working in a painting, one easy thing to do is to try to get yourself back into the big picture of it. And there's a lot of crutches people use, but if you use those crutches, like this isn't a crutch. A crutch would be something that diminishes your ability to be strong at drawing. So what some people might do, a lot of people would do, is either use an opaque projector or do some kind of transfer. It's all fine. You want to do it, go ahead. It's what you want to do. But if you want the drawing to be real in your art, then using an opaque projector is cheating yourself. The act of drawing, it's basically tracing, and it's not easy. I've tried to use an opaque projector before, like or at least I saw someone working on an opaque projector, and I was like, how can you even do it? Because you've got your hands in front of it, and I don't know. But anyway, either way, it's essentially tracing when you use an opaque projector. But if you
do the grid thing. Then you can give yourself like an outline. Okay, here you've got this grid, and then you can just put everything into those spots and just enlarge it like you would if you were making a billboard. And it works if you're doing a mural. Like if you've got a design and you're just executing it, go ahead. You've already done the work. You've already drawn the thing. You're just executing it. And that's a perfectly acceptable use of it. It's not a crutch, but a tool. So if you've completely designed something, you've created the composition that you want, and you know what you're going to paint, and you've done a small painting sketch, and then you want to use the grid system to then recreate it on a larger scale, you can go ahead and do that. But if you're working from a photograph, you're trying to find the painting in the photograph. So like, if I just did this, exactly this, and just, I might as well print it on canvas, and then just like put some matte medium over it, and then just swish some paint here and there. If that's what they want, Merry Christmas, I can teach you to do that yourself. But what I want is to give them an actual painting, and so there's other things that go into it. And then as I'm looking at this, if I were there in person in Venice, if I were the gondolier, how would I paint this? And that's what I'm trying to give them.
So an alternate title for this video could be Why Portraits Should Cost a Crap Ton of Money. But yeah, a lot goes into it. And it's been an interesting process. Like right now I'm doing a voiceover. And so I'm rewatching these videos while I'm doing this voiceover. And yeah, I think earlier in the video I said I would charge $3,000, and I'm thinking, screw that. I think if this wasn't family, I would charge a heck of a lot more than that. All right, so I'm at this point right now where I'm getting closer to the figures in this painting, feeling like who they're supposed to be. I've struggled so much with this figure here. She looks very grown up and graceful compared to her little childhood self that I have in mind. And as I try to paint her, I end up making her look too grown up when I try to paint her like the photograph. And now I kind of just try to find the part of her face that I recognize as the little child that I've known. And now I have to figure out how to marry that idea with this photo and the idea that now she's growing up. So it's kind of an interesting problem, and in portraiture, you want it to look like them. And sometimes, like if I were to get in now and go into more detail and make this figure look more like she does in the photo, she would look less like she does in real life, which might seem like an odd thing, but since I'm familiar with these people in real life, I feel like I have to be true to them as people. So I'm kind of trying to pick up on who they are, their energy, and all that good stuff. And so I've got to go back in. I definitely need to work on the male figure. I need to work on all of it again. But I haven't had as hard of a time with the mom because I know her better, and so I've spent more time hanging out with her. I know her face better. I've seen her pictures more. So it's just an interesting thing. And maybe I'm too close to it, but that's where I am. Okay. So here's some more time lapse for you. There's a lot of up and down. Yeah, it is nice to have an adjustable easel. I mean, I guess all easels are adjustable, but a good easel, a solid easel is important, especially if you're an active painter. Like I do have this metal easel that I had for a long time, an aluminum one, which I love, but it does kind of clang around a little. Okay, so in this stage, there's some things that it still needs work, but the people feel like them. So, like I end up going back into the hair. You'll see. But another part of objectivity is looking at art. So I took a trip over to the Nelson Atkins and looked at some great artists. If you're just looking at stuff online, it's not the same as looking at it in person or in books. It's good to have an art library, but if you have an art museum near you or galleries or even just other artists that you can hang out with to see what they're doing, go see it in person. Oh, they're my kiddos. So that's the And then this is me and my bestie. So it's good to have a little bit of life, not just be at the easel. The result, this. So, okay, no, I didn't go to the museum and come back and my painting was fixed. But after going to the museum, after spending some time with my friend, I got back into the painting, wasn't as sick anymore, and this is it. So I didn't keep recording the process because I just didn't, but that's where we are. So the painting was delivered and waited until...
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yes, love. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
This for
What
us?
in the heck? Yeah.
All right, Gretch, open her up.
Okay. Chris, help. Okay, it's like so. Okay.
Are you doing it? Girls?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Liz! Liz, oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Liz, oh my gosh, it's my favorite picture. Oh my gosh, look at that. This looks like us. This is my favorite thing I've ever seen in my life. This is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm gonna die. And we look like really, really good. Oh my gosh. You commissioned this.
Dude, that's so amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is the most, that is our, I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Oh my god.
That's so cool.
This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, their joy was absolutely priceless. It meant everything to me.